Welcome back, folks. It is episode number 112 of YWC Football Talk. And even though I'm a Pats fan and the Pats are playing the Saints this week, I'm joined by two different Saints fans and one Saints beat writer. I have Matt with me, Matt Beast as always, and also joined by a mid-interview to talk a little bit more about the Patriots and Saints game will be John Hendrix from the Saints Wire of Sports Illustrated. Matt, how are we doing today?
We're doing pretty good. Just sitting here, glad to have a podcast episode to record. Sitting here watching this slightly mediocre Thursday night game, but that tends to be par for the course for Thursday night games for whatever reason that is. But at least got a podcast to go along with it, so never can beat that.
No, 100%. Also, too, it's of Saints news. My bad for John, not Saints Wire, it's Saints news. But you're right. Just another Thursday. It's another Thursday pod. I always love doing these, like when we actually have football to watch. And for any of those wondering, so basically what's going on right now is Matt and I are recording over Skype, so it's just audio. But there was John and I did video on Wednesday, so both will be up on YouTube, and then also too the video version of John's will be up separately. So just a heads up for you. But no, it's a Thursday. It's week 3. Robbie Anderson dropped a fucking pass, and hopefully Carolina can get this spread right down because they're only a point and a half off. And I went on TikTok earlier today and I said, hey, lock it in. I said Panthers money line or Panthers spread. You're more likely going to win.
Yeah, I mean they did lose McCaffrey, but I mean just the fact with what the Texans are going through right now, losing Tyrod Taylor last week, I don't see them putting up too much points on the board on this Panthers defense today.
No, neither do I. I think we can't really talk about too much about this game just because obviously like it's in progress. It's a 2-minute warning already. And the Panthers are driving downfield. Let's see, 2nd and 10. Sam Darnold, nice dump off to Chuba Hubbard. Is that Hubbard? No, that is not. That's somebody else. Hubbard's 30. But let's move on to Sunday quickly. And the first game right here we've got is the Ravens, the Lions. Ravens are an 8-point spread dog. But Lamar Jackson missing practice today with they said it was an issue because of his little flip he did in the end zone on Sunday. But at the same time, too, they were like, no, it's an illness. But if I'm John Harbaugh, like I don't know if you saw it live or if you've seen it at all, but if I'm Harbaugh, I'm basically going to him being like, "Yo, don't ever do that again."
Yeah, that was probably not the smartest thing he could do. I don't recall seeing it because I saw half. Okay, just to preface what happened to me last week on top of the Saints playing like crap real quick.
Yeah.
North of my town, an optic cable got cut. So literally my internet and my cell service, it was non-existent. It was like I was living in the Stone Ages. I had to go out and listen to games on the radio, and the AC in my car doesn't work very well. So it was just a conundrum of a week for me trying to watch football. And I didn't get stuff back until literally the Sunday night game. So it was rough.
That's just like not only are you down, but it's just like getting a swift kick too while you're down. Like that is just a double whammy. I feel like no one should ever have to experience.
It was rough. I don't wish it on Falcons fans.
Oh. That's what it was really bad. But I think we're both in agreement here with Baltimore winning this game. But my question for you is, do they cover 8.5? Do they cover 8 points?
I'd probably say so. I mean, the Lions, they look like they can put some points on the board. I mean, TJ Hawkinson's looking great, by the way, which I'm very excited about because I have him in Dynasty. He's my Dynasty tight end. So I'm very excited about Hawkinson. As long as Hawkins is doing good, I really do not care. But, I mean, Jared Goff's looking decent. It's not like they're just going out and just, like, looking amazing. I mean, the Green Bay game was all right. I mean, Green Bay kind of got away from them towards the end there, but I mean the Lions are staying decent. They're not going to be like we said earlier in the preview earlier in the season that the Lions are going to be pretty bad, but their offense might look decent enough where they can do some stuff. But I'd probably say the Ravens are going to cover that spread.
Yeah, I can see it kind of like I can't see it where Baltimore's up a lot. I can see it like where it's kind of a close game and then Baltimore slowly pulls away towards the end.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. They definitely have that kind of team where they can just keep pounding away with the run game. It really doesn't matter who they have back there with all the injuries they've had so far this season at the running back position. And Tyson Williams has been doing good. Latavius Murray's looked better since the preseason. Like, he did not look good at all for the Saints in the preseason, and he's looked a little bit better on the Ravens so far, so that's good for them. Devontae Freeman, same thing with him. Him and Latavius were like right on the bubble for the Saints, so, and Tony Jones ended up winning over, so they're both looking decent. But I mean, when you're in a run-heavy offense like that, and you have Lamar Jackson also with the threat of running, it's not hard to look good. And Marquise Brown's looking pretty good too so far. I don't know if that's going to be consistent and keep up, but I want to see where this offense is going to look when Rashad Bateman comes back. I want to see how he's going to do once he comes back. I want to see if he's going to be the alpha dog in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, that's another one too, because Rashad Bateman, he really fell through the cracks. He's had that groin problem. He's been out. The one thing I'll say right now about this, like, I just want to bring up with this game, man. If I know Carolina has a really good defense, man, their offensive line is trash.
Yeah,
like, it's not trash, but it could be a lot better.
That's very true. I mean, the Saints, they were depleted last week when we played them. I mean, we were down. Davenport's already hurt, but Passanio was also hurt. Peyton Turner finally got his first action. He looked really good, so I was happy to see that, but it was against the Panthers O-line. And I said before the season started, their O-line is definitely going to be their Achilles heel, and Sam Darnold could be seeing some more ghosts. But so far, I mean, Joe Brady's had it looking good. Granted, they haven't really been playing the best defensive lines out there. Tonight they're playing Texans. They played the Saints, who were very depleted once we got to them, and they played the Jets. So not a very good sample size so far of defensive lines. So we'll have to wait and see as the year goes on. Maybe when they play the Bucks, I want to see what that game's going to look like.
Oh no, for sure, yeah, because the Panthers don't play the Bucks actually till like December, so that's a long ways away. It's like the weird like the Bucks' last 3 games, it's Panthers, Jets, Panthers.
Man, that is a interesting setup for sure. It's weird how they do that sometimes, because sometimes I know they've done this with the Saints where they'll play a division rival almost back to back like that. It's very weird how they do that very late in the year.
Yeah, exactly. But no, moving on to the next one. God, this is such a bad game. Falcons at Giants. I'm going to say this right now. And also, too, before I go to Falcons Giants, I'm going to go back to the other game. If I had to put a score bowl on it, I'm going to say 24-14. I feel like, Detroit's defense kind of gets a couple stops here and there, but at the end of the day, like, that's where I get, like, I could see it being like a 14-14 game, and then they just got scored like 10-0 in the second half.
I'll say 31-17. Hawkinson gets 2 touchdowns.
But yeah, next one, Falcons at Giants. I'm going to say this right now. If the Giants, like the Falcons, I think the Falcons, they're my Dennis Green team of the year. They are who we thought they were. Like, there's no real, like, look, the defense is horrendous. They're literally a fantasy team. You have Matt Ryan, you have Kyle Pitts, and you have Calvin Ridley. Besides that, you got nothing. The Giants, who last week, look, had a close game. No, they lost. We had the first big rat griff, Danny Dimes primetime. But I'll say this. If the Giants do not win this game, there is a problem in New York. I'm going with the Giants here. But, man, this screams ugly, but at the same time, too, this game right here, like, screams like it could have been Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I low-key think it's going to be a fun game to watch, honestly. I think the offense is going to look pretty decent. Although I will say, if the Giants are going to show a good defense, this is the way to show it. Matt Ryan hasn't looked promising so far. He's kind of elevated the offense down a notch. I mean, granted, you have the loss of Julio, which hurts, and Kyle Pitts is going to take a minute before he can show off this generational talent he has, I believe. You still have Calvin Ridley, who is a really good wide receiver. But like you said, outside of those guys, I mean, who do you got? I mean, the running game isn't exactly great. You got Mike Davis, and Cordell Patterson was actually getting some garbage time points in fantasy, which led him to be a top waiver wire ad, which I think is kind of a waste of a waiver wire, waste of your fab in any of your leagues at trying to get Cordell Patterson at this point in his career. But that's neither here.
Sorry to cut you off, but that is a message for those of you who did not waste all your FAB money on Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, for sure. And that's another one right there. I kind of stayed away from that one, luckily.
I did not.
Because, I mean, it's the 49ers backfield. They're weird. He doesn't want to play Brandon Ayuk. He doesn't want to really stick to any guy running back. It's always a revolving door there because they always end up hurt. like literally every year someone's hurt in that backfield, and who knows if Trey Sermon's going to come on. It's just so weird to try and predict. It's like trying to predict a Patriots running backfield sometimes with them.
That's not the same story anymore. It's obviously Damian Harris, but we'll get into that in a minute. My big thing with this game is just look like we were saying, the Falcons are just, their defense is awful. Like, the team's not good. They're basically, they know they have to rebuild. They're just waiting. Like, they're just putting it off. Like, they don't want to admit that it's a rebuild.
Yeah, pretty much. Good old Falcons with their hard-headedness. If I had to predict it, I'd probably give the Giants the win here, honestly, too. I think they're going to do enough. And like you were saying earlier, Daniel Jones looked good. He didn't actually cost the team the win with a turnover or anything. So who knows? Maybe he'll build upon that and go out here and beat the Falcons. And maybe the Falcons get up on them early and find another crazy way to lose, because that's what the Falcons like to do. They like to lose in weird ways. So we could see something like that. I think it'll be a fun game to watch if you want to tune into it, but it'll be some good 0-2 versus 0-2 football.
Some good, bad football. If I put a scoreboard on this, I'm going to say 27-24 for the Giants. Because also, here's the other thing, too. Graham Gano and Sterling Shepard, if you do not have them on your team, I suggest getting them for fantasy.
Yes, I was actually able to, in a lighter redraft league, I think it's like a 10-team league, I just picked up Sterling Shepard, and I needed an extra wide receiver, so I'm pretty happy with him.
He went from like wide receiver, like, I think it was in the 30s or the 40s, to like wide receiver 9.
Yes, I mean, it won't be sustainable because it's very early in the season. You see overreactions everywhere, and that's how it is with fantasy. You'll see some guys popping off, like Brandon Cooks has been popping off so far this season. Tyler Lockett's another prime candidate for a guy that's probably going to go down a little bit because he's like number 2. Adam Thielen could possibly be one. I think he's number 4 or something in PPR leagues. It's crazy right now.
Yeah, Adam Thielen's one of those guys where it's always like, he did it a few years ago. I think it was 2018 or 2019. He had like 8 games where he had like 100 yards in like his first 8 games, and then after that he just cooled off immediately. Like, because I remember, I think it was the year I had him. I'm pretty sure it was 2018. I think he broke Calvin Johnson's record for like NFC North receivers as the Texans get a touchdown, and my spread thing's looking a little iffy. But no, yeah, I remember that. So it's like one of those things to watch for. Because even I remember the other day, they missed. Oh my god, the kicker missed. Man. But the thing I was gonna say for I was gonna say with with fantasy football. Yeah, my girlfriend. I was talking to her yesterday, and she's just like I hate my team. Like, I hate my play. She's Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin obviously got banged up and hasn't gotten off to the best start.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her, I'm like, fantasy football literally is a 4-month mental grind that we literally have no business running, but yet we get involved with and love it at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, you just got to chalk it up and say, oh, it just happens sometimes, and try not to get too frustrated with it. But it's one of those things that can be very frustrating, which is why I try not to put too much money into fantasy football, because then I would have to be mad at it, even though I love it so much.
Exactly. You nailed it on the head. Back to this game, I think we're both in agreement to the Giants. But this next one, I don't know, because third on my list, we've got the New Orleans Saints visiting the New England Patriots. The only thing that concerns me here with this game is the over-under at 42. I feel like there's a chance this game could hit the over, because the first 2 Patriots games of the year, the under is hit. I feel like this one, it screams the over hitting. I know you're going to say the Saints are going to win. I know I'm saying the Patriots are going to win. I don't like putting a score on Patriots games. I'm just going to say I think that this game's either going to be like a close 3-point game, to like kind of like what we saw in 2013. Not as dramatic of a finish, but either that or like a 10-point win somewhere in there, like 10 to 14 points.
There was holding on that damn last play of that 2013 game on Junior Gillette, but that's neither here nor there. I still get salty about missed flags. It's just the story of a Saints fan. What did you have the points as? The
42.
No, I mean like your score prediction. Did you say that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it if you
No,
did.
I didn't say that because, well, to be honest, week one I said what I thought the Patriots score was going to be, and they lost. And last week I didn't say what the Patriots score was going to be, and they won. So you know what? I'm riding the wave of momentum of my weird superstitiousness as a fan, even though the outcome of the game does not affect me or my paycheck or my day-to-day life. But I'm sticking with it because, damn it, I love football, and I am superstitious when it comes to this beautiful game. But no, I'm not
I,
going with the score. The only thing I'm going to say is if you're betting this game, I would go. I think you got to go with the over because 42 for it seems it's 42. It seems like a sucker's bet, but that spread is interesting. I feel like the spread of 3 will get covered regardless.
See, that's where I'm differing with you. Pound the under on this game. I don't bet any games at all, but this game is definitely finishing like 13-10. That and I honestly probably have the Patriots winning low key, just because I think at the very end of the day, it's going to come down to a turnover, and I think Bill Belichick's going to force Jameis into a turnover where I think the Saints are going to play much better than they did last week. Like the Saints, they've been through so much crap to begin this season. It's ridiculous. They've been displaced due to Hurricane Ida, haven't been at home. They've had coaches catch COVID, a literally whole offensive coaching staff just about, where they've had Sean Payton's assistant who books flights calling plays. Like, what the heck is going on there? You have Ian Book in charge of substitutions. What is going on here? It is ridiculous. And then you had the Superdome catching on fire. It's just, I don't know what else could happen. Then you have injuries happening everywhere. It's just bad. But fortunately, the injury report looks better this week, so it seems like we're going to get more people back and more coaches should be back. So I think this game is going to be really close because you have two teams that are very focused on ball dominant time of possession play. As a lot of people have been talking about with Mac Jones, they say he hasn't taken the training wheels off. You don't have to with this guy. He's in a position where he can succeed. Josh McDaniels has set him up the way he needs to be with this offense. You got Damian Harris, who I think he has like the third most carries out of running backs through the first 2 weeks, something like that. And he's been looking good at it. He hasn't been just like an amazing guy, but he's been really solid. James White in the intermediate game, that's another thing you're going to have to chest for because Christian McCaffrey was tearing Zach Bond up in coverage in the first quarter. I would like to see if Josh McDaniels is going to test that out and see if Zach Bond is still kind of shaky on covering running backs out of the flats. And you also have the two tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, to help out with the intermediate game of Mac Jones. And I mean, I just don't know about the Saints with the Patriots in this one. Sean Payton even said Bill Belichick is 108-7 whenever they win the turnover battle, which is why I think them trying to not turn over the ball is going to be a huge thing. If the Saints do not turn over the ball, I'm going to say they get the win. But if they turn over the ball, it's going to be a long day. And I know Bill Belichick isn't huge on just sending all out blitzes all the time, but he might have to test out that Saints O-line after that performance last week. But you would hope that it's better because, I mean, in the Green Bay game, it looked fine. And it's not like the Eric McCoy thing hurt us at all. I know he's the main guy that calls protections now that Drew Brees is out, but I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really close and a really, really grinded out football. It's not going to be a super fun one to watch. It's going to be stressful. But at the end of the day, I got 13-10 Patriots.
I can't see the score being like that high, but or not like that low. Something just tells me that the over is going to hit in this game. But at the same time, too, look, I think you're right. It's for the not fan of the Saints and the Patriots is maybe a tough watch. But I totally do agree with you on that. But like I said, I still think Patriots are going to win and cover the spread. That's my prediction on that. And before we move to the next game, guys, now is a chance for more of an in-depth look on the Patriots Saints preview. So we're going to throw it to my exclusive interview with John Hendrix from Sports Illustrated right now. And we'll be back in a sec. Alrighty, folks. As you know, this week the Patriots are taking on the New Orleans Saints up in Foxborough. And for that, I've dug up and I got a pretty good resource to help get the Saints perspective of this game on Sunday, as I have the lead writer reporter for Saints News at SI Now. He's also the podcast host of Believe Saints, and he's the founder of FB Field on Twitter. I'd like to welcome John Hendrix. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying some cool weather that's about to move in here. We don't get it often. This is kind of like our fall weather that's coming.
Oh, not bad, not bad. Up here right now where I am, it's been raining and just cold all day. Not ideal. So I bet for like if I tell you the weather, you'd probably never experience it before. But with your weather, I know Louisiana, it can be nice and hot down there. So I bet you enjoy the cold when you get it.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, we usually go by Louisiana. I tell people it's like we have 4 seasons. It's hot, less hot, more than hot, and then hotter than hot. That's usually about what it rolls.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. So obviously this Sunday we have teams who've had very different weeks. Obviously, week one, the Pats had the close loss to Miami. You guys killed Green Bay and Jacksonville. But last week the fortunes got mixed up a little bit with the Saints, unfortunately, having a 26-7 loss against Carolina. So what I wanted to ask you is where do you see this team or how do you see the game plan changing from week 2 to week 3?
Well, look, I think the first thing is execution. Yeah, I mean, they didn't execute worth anything. I mean, for them to only have 128 yards of total offense for the game, I mean, that was the worst loss probably in Sean Payton's career. I mean, the only thing that came to mind, because some people asked, hey, what was the worst loss? And I thought about Seattle in 2013 when they went up there, big Monday night game. They got routed 34-7. I mean, they just got, the break speed off of them. But look, that was kind of a similar feel, and they just didn't have any continuity. They didn't have an answer for the pass rush. They didn't have an answer for being able to stay on the field. They couldn't convert first downs. Defensively, they made the adjustments. But look, I think the biggest thing is communication is going to be the first point of emphasis, and just overall execution. You've got a lot of talented players. You can call it for what it is. You missed 8 coaches. And they're not making excuses for each other. You're also down Marshawn Lattimore and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and one of your best pass rushers in Tano Passignon, great free agent pickup. But, this is a team that's not going to sit behind those excuses. At the end of the day, they're paid to do a job and to make things happen. But at the end of it all, it was just too much. And, even in the second half, they had a chance to get out of it and at least make it closer than what it was. But, just how the chips fell is offensively, they just could not generate anything.
No, for sure. I feel like you always get those games every year. Like there's always that one game or so where it looks nothing goes. Not that nothing goes right. It's just everything that can go wrong goes wrong. You try to fix your errors, but then by the time you try to get them fixed, it's either too little, too late, or you just dig yourself further down that hole. But the one thing I'm most looking forward to this Sunday is just the overall head-to-head coaching matchup, because you saw that in both press conferences from Sean Payton and Bill Belichick today. Both guys very complimentary of each other, very complimentary of both Mac Jones and Jameis Winston. So I feel like more than the actual on-field chess match, it's going to be a great coach chess matchup coming this Sunday in Foxborough.
Yeah, you're talking about the two longest coaches in the NFL, and obviously Bill Belichick's been a lot longer than Sean has, but that relationship is very strong. And it's funny, you watch Bill Belichick's press conferences, he's probably going to get most animated when he talks about somebody like Sean Payton, right? He just doesn't get animated for but there's a lot of praise there. There's a lot of respect. Both come from that Bill Parcells cloth, and I mean, it's just kind of the DNA, and some of those, they're just not around anymore, right? And they do things a certain way. It's worked extremely well for Bill. It's worked extremely well for Sean for the most part. And, Bill had his opportunity to have a little bit more of adversity than he normally does last year with no Tom Brady, and you got Cam Newton. I mean, they did what they could, but the thing I think about is Sean Payton talked very complimentary of him, saying that, look, they're a great tackling team. They throw different looks at you that are just not conventional, if you will, and they're great at doing a lot of things. Special teams is outstanding. So all 3 facets of the game, I mean, they are very strong, and again, for them, it also comes down to execution.
Exactly. And I feel like the one thing with the Sunday's game coming up is it's just going to be a matter of who can make less mistakes, not more who can do better, but who just makes less mistakes on field. I think that's ultimately what's going to come down to, because I can see this game being very similar. Do you remember the one in 2013? I think it was week 5, week 6. There was that late touchdown from Tom Brady to Kenbrell Tompkins. I can just see a very similar game plan like that, or not game plan, but like an overall game flow like that. You have your mid 20s, high 20s score both ways. I believe the spread's at 3 right now. If I'm a bit of a betting person, so I bet the over. But I just feel like it's gonna be that kind of game, where it can little high scoring, but not too high scoring. But at the same time, too, it's like I said, I think this is just, you got to play mistake-free football when you're going up against either coach, because once either Peyton or Belichick, like you said, cut from that Bill Parcells cloth, it's just going to be about who can play mistake-free football come Sunday.
Yeah, and Sean threw out the stat, and I can't remember the exact record. I think it was 108-7 is what Bill Belichick and the Patriots are at home when they win the turnover battle. It's something absolutely lopsided. I know 7 was the loss factor. I think it's 108. Maybe I shortchanged them a couple, but they've had so many great wins over there at Foxborough and such. But you look at it, the ebbs and flow of this game. I mean, Mac Jones. Sean Payton, I asked him today, on Wednesday, talking about Mac Jones. He loves his decision making, loves the fact that he's able to see the field, and I think he's leaps and bounds ahead of the curve as a rookie quarterback. Obviously, from some of the things that I've seen on him, and I watch a lot of him at Alabama because I'm a big LSU guy. And SEC in general. So got to see plenty of Mac Jones too. And he definitely seemed like the ready quarterback. They've had a few here and there. Tua's looked pretty good. But Mac Jones, I thought was a little bit more complete of a player for sure. But, look, again, you look at that 2013 matchup, that was really something special. I think it was, if they could have both got in the Super Bowl that year, that would have been something. But, it's just a chess match, and, playing in Foxborough, I think that's obviously huge advantage of Patriots because the Saints and Jameis Winston, they did not handle the crowd noise in Carolina well at all last week. And, I think I was on a show, a Panthers show, and I told them, I said, that's exact formula. I said, you get a couple of scores early, you get the crowd into it early, and they're just not going to be able to recover. I mean, that's just the easiest way for them. And, it's been a long, they've had crowd noise as a factor. I mean, with COVID and everything last year, it just kind of hurt a lot. And, Jameis Winston talked about communication as being key, and the silent count with Teron Armstead, that wasn't just something that really worked that well. And again, you don't have those many coaches that think that's a factors up and, bites you a little bit. But, again, at the same time, I expect a much better showing this week, probably reminiscent of what we should have saw against the Panthers. But, again, we'll see how this injury report plays out. They got a couple of players that are banged up and hopefully trending in the right direction.
Exactly, because that was the one big shock today of the Patriots too. Matt Judon coming up on didn't participate today. He was out with a knee. I saw Lattimore, PJ Williams, Gardner Johnson all in the injury report. But I just wanted to shift quickly because I just wanted to ask you, and for folks who may not be aware with the unfortunate fire at the Superdome yesterday, I just want to make sure everything's okay there. They ever find out anything, and hopefully, because my hope is that you guys are in there next Sunday against the New York Giants, because there's no place like, I know I'm a Patriots fan, but I even know there's no place like the Dome.
Yeah. Look, it was they were pressure washing there, and it was one of the gutter tubs that caught fire and such. But the officials and stuff said that there's no setbacks. I mean, they're going to be able to play in the Superdome. That's not going to be an issue against the Giants. And the team's prepared to come back next week. They've been in Dallas for 3 weeks now and such. But that there's nothing that should stop them. But again, it's in a long line. We had the hurricane here. We had to get displaced to Jacksonville for the first game. I mean, it's been a little bit of everything that this team has faced. And we always just joke, and the media is just like, it's just never really a quiet moment. When it comes in waves, it just comes in waves.
Exactly. Like there's always something like that's always just hitting you guys, and you guys always just seem to find a way to bounce back. And but no, that's just good to hear. And also from my perspective too, because I literally just saw yesterday from yourself, from a couple other Saints people. I think it was a Fox Fox station down in New Orleans, but with the fire, and I just saw, I was like, what the heck happened here? But no, it's just good to hear that, look, like everything's hopefully gonna be fine for you guys for next Sunday with the Giants. But one player I kind of have on my watch list for the Saints, I know he had his first touchdown against the Packers, is I'm trying to say this right, Juwan Johnson, I believe tight end number 83. Just like he's someone I've always just been not fascinated with, but kind of like you don't like those players like look that you kind of don't expect to break out, but do break out. Kind of like hey, the diamond in the rough, if you will. Is there any other players that Patriots fans should be aware of coming for this Sunday, or not like aware of, but to watch out for?
Yeah, look, I think there's tons of them. Juwan Johnson's a prime example. He didn't have quite as good a game as he did in the opener. Neither did anybody, right? Alvin Kamara kind of obviously got held in check really badly. And Tony Jones Jr. is their number 2 running back. He's a smaller guy. He hits holes really good. And if they can get some success game, it comes from that 1-2 punch of him and Kamara. So that'd be a guy to look out for. Wide receiver wise, Marquez Callaway had a really good pre-training camp. He's been really ice cold the first 2 weeks. I expect them to give him the ball a little bit more. Deontay Harris is an undrafted free agent. I mean, some people know about him. He was an All-Pro as a rookie and all these different things, and he's great at return game. So I mean, our special teams Patriots are good at. They're going to be tested a lot by Deontay Harris, especially kicking to him. I mean, if I was them, I would not kick to him at all if he can help it. But, that's, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. Adam Troutman's another guy that you want to keep an eye on. He's definitely been ice cold, didn't have a single target last week. But, he's the guy, the top tight end that they have. And it's usually blocked first for him. But, I think he's due for a big game, a big load. A first game, he had 6 targets. He led the way for him. But, defensively, everybody should know Demario Davis. Everybody knows Cam Jordan. Their first round draft pick, Peyton Turner, had his first game. He looked outstanding. He had 2 bad penalties, but he was able to overcome that really well. And other than that, man, I tell you, secondary, Paulson Adebo, the rookie, he might be one of the ones that, Mac Jones will try to target a little bit. That's what Darnold did against him. Found some good success. I think they might get some coverage there to help, with Marcus Williams or Malcolm Jenkins. But, the Saints team, Jameis is the quarterback, right? You'll see Taysom Hill on more goal line, maybe red zone type of work or short yardage or something along that lines. But, Johnson's probably one of the top guys that you want to keep an eye on. Just maybe low key has a couple of plays. Just somehow he and Troutman just find the soft spots in the coverage and just able to get open and such. But between that, I mean, they have vets like Ty Montgomery and Chris Hogan. I mean, this is a wide receiver group that I would just tell you it does not scare anybody on paper. They don't have Michael Thomas, right? But they have enough there to generate some offense if they can get the good protection like they're hoping to get.
Exactly. And also a bit of a homecoming for former Patriot Chris Hogan, and the same thing to Deontay Harris. I believe he went to school in Worcester, Massachusetts. So just some New England ties there that I had to bring up. And as you said too, I'm very intrigued about the Peyton Turner take, because I feel like, look, that's what rookies are supposed to do. You take a couple bad penalties, you kind of learn from it, you shake it off. And then meanwhile, on the Pats side of the ball, I'm still waiting for that Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry breakout game. Just, waiting for them to explode. Damian Harris, we obviously saw it last Sunday, the monster run against New York Jets. That's another thing. Really good bit of SEC ties in the running back matchup too. Kamara, obviously Tennessee, Harris, an Alabama guy. But no, all in all, I feel like just the way the matchups are going to play out this Sunday too, the one I'm really looking forward to as well is just that both D-lines going up against both offensive lines. Because, look, you have great guys like David Andrews, Trent Brown, Michael Onwenu for the Patriots, and then the Saints. You also have Cesar Ruiz, Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead, which Ramczyk got paid this offseason, deservedly so. So that's why the same thing too, when I said the mistake-free football earlier, I feel like, look, if both offensive lines hold up, we could see, maybe I was going to say probably a bit of a higher scoring game, but at the same time too, both defensive lines can cause havoc. You might see not exactly the highest scoring game in the world, because I believe the over-under for this is about 44 and a half. So I feel like this game can go really either way in either direction Sunday.
Yeah, and look, I know a lot of people want to look at Jameis and say, oh, they were just waiting. I saw it. They were waiting. I joked about it, said they had that in the draft him, his turnover, the first one, and that wasn't on him. Again, you look at it, the pressure was broke down. I mean, there was nobody that blocked these guys, and he made a good move and just threw across his body. I mean, it was just kind of a prayer, but again, you could say he could take it, but he tried to do everything he could. But, when you don't have the protection there. The second interception was what I was a little bit more concerned with, of him overthrowing the target, and it was just straight to JC Horn. I mean, you just can't make decisions like that. But, at the same time, offensive line against defensive line, I mean, the guys in the trenches are key. And, the Saints, they're without one of their best interior guys in David Onyemata because his suspension. But look, they have guys there that have really stepped up. Malcolm Roach, Shai Tuttle, Christian Ringo, and on the pass rushing side, they have great ones besides Cam Jordan. They won't have Marcus Davenport, but Carl Granderson's a guy that not many people really know about, but he's did some work with D-line vids in the offseason. He improved his pass rushing technique. Got a big field goal block last week. I mean, he's just one of those underrated guys. And another great line of those undrafted that the Saints have been able to find. So again, I think this is something that could be in the trenches. whoever can generate pass rush, I mean, it's going to be key on a rookie in Mac Jones. I think he's got some poise to really handle this. And then, there's an old adage, the Saints don't do really well against rookie quarterbacks. I mean, it kind of goes back a ways, but I'll never forget Robert Griffin III, first game, 2012 against the Saints. He absolutely obliterated the team. And that I think that was one of the starting points of, man, all these rookie quarterbacks, they seem to do well against the Saints for whatever reason. So Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, is going to really have to come up with a good scheme to be able to contain and neutralize some of these threats.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis Allen, one of those guys I've always seen is like, why hasn't he gotten a head coaching job? But at the same time, too, I feel like look, he's just one of those guys. Look, maybe he's just happy where he is as a DC in New Orleans. Also, I have to give a shout out to Onyemata because, unlike him, obviously University of Manitoba product. I don't think I can mention this yearly, but I am from Canada as well, so it's kind of like that funny tie-in. So I always hope that those Canadian guys do well. Look, I just love the fact that we both kind of agree where it's like, look, this is just going to come down to the little things. It's going to come down to, look, who can outperform who, and at the same time too. I don't know if I can see a world where Mac Jones kind of comes and just slices and dices because I feel like they're playing a lot of good check down ball with him. But at the same time, too, I feel like it's kind of like, because someone made a meme last week of him and Josh McDaniels, like Mac's on a kid on, I think it's a tricycle. It was a tricycle basically, and like Josh was the dad pushing him. I feel like this may not be the week to exactly, kind of like let him ride the bike by himself. So I feel like at the same time, too, you can see some safe plays, but at the same time, too, if they want to let him air it out, I feel like they're going to see how the pace of the game flows goes. And then from there, just decide like, hey, what direction they want to go in. And I feel like, look, you said Dennis Allen has to scheme up a perfect game plan. So I feel like this may be a game where he's got to do a lot, on the fly.
Yeah, and look, you look at what happened against the Panthers last week. It was the short and intermediate that carved up the Saints. I mean, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, obviously he, as Saints fans, know who he is because of the time he was spent in New Orleans, but he knew exactly where to attack. They attacked Zach Bond. They attacked, Paulson Adebo, the rookie. And, again, Bond looked really good in preseason and training camp, but, just didn't really have a good game. And so it'll be interesting if they do get somebody like Pete Werner, their Ohio State guy this year that they took. And I think he can better maybe in that spot potentially. It just depends, if Zach Bond can overcome what happened to him. I thought they looked better in the second half, but again, at that point, damage was kind of done. But, again, chess matches, you're going to have to be able to cover the flats. You're going to have to cover those curl routes, the hook routes, all these different things that the Patriots like to run. I mean, they may not have to try to beat them deep, and the Saints have some good talent there in Marcus Williams, who plays a lot of the home run ball and sees the field extremely well. So the tight ends, you mentioned Hunter Henry. I'm a huge Hunter Henry fan, and I tell you, he could have a really nice game here, depending on what kind of matchups they get. But, the wild card, I would say, is, the Saints getting back CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, I know everybody thinks he's the guy, the instigator, and, gets under everybody's skin, but he was so valuable. I mean, that game plan against the Panthers, he was supposed to be the guy covering Christian McCaffrey the whole game. I mean, it was a defensive back on him, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to go with a knee injury. He was limited on Wednesday. We'll see. It's a step in the right direction, but him playing in this defense is going to be huge. Same thing with Marshawn Lattimore, that hand, thumb injury, if you will, that he had surgery on. It's going to be huge that he gets back into the lineup too.
No, 100%. You just need all your guys healthy because, look, at the end of the day, like both of us, you don't want injuries to play a factor in how the outcome of the game goes. Unfortunately, football, that's what happens. But look, you just want both squads completely healthy, but completely ready to go. I'm also expecting, part of me, I'm in a weird position right now because, like, I want Alvin Kamara to have a good week, and I don't want him to have a good week. I feel like you kind of know where I'm going with that from the fantasy football side of it. So, like, it's kind of like from a fan side, if he has a bad weekend, it's like, oh, man, it's like, okay, cool. But a fantasy side, it's like, oh, come on, damn it. But just had to throw that out there. But no, for the most part, these games are always fun and exciting to look forward to because, look, it's the same thing, too. They only play once every 4 years. It's not the same thing, too. And I feel like these are two teams where people know, like, look, it's a bit of a changing of the guard. Obviously, Brady's now resides in your division, unfortunately for you. And Breeze just retired this year, but like I said, 26, he'll be in Canton. I'm just excited to see this game mainly too, because you see the new guards and you're going to see how they look. Cause I know a lot of people are making this plays of Jameis Winston saying like, oh, we're back to like 2019 Winston. But in reality, I think you're right. I think Carolina just had a good game plan. They had a good scheme. They're a defense I really like down there. But I'm just excited to see how both teams look come Sunday. And look, I feel like at the same time too, how you brought up the Saints having to defend like curl and slant routes. I think the Patriots are in that same boat with the Saints, and also too going after the deep ball, because we know for as much as Jameis loves to throw, he really likes to chuck it downfield, and he can do it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, assuming it's protection, he definitely can let it fly. I mean, let it rip. That's something that the Saints have been missing, that element. Drew did what he could. I mean, it was the best way to describe it is, he went to Sean and said, hey, these are the things I can do. Here's the things I can't do. And that was kind of how they ran their offense and such. But, look, again, I think that was the biggest thing for the Panthers coming in is you make of week one what you will. And of course it was the Jets, and Jets are a little bit of having an opportunity. I'll say that, but their pass rush got after Wilson a lot. And, we knew going back to last year, their pass rush was good and physical, and just didn't expect the breakdowns like they had, because Ruiz is a natural center. He comes there, and I think it has to line with some of the tech reads and all these different things that come out. But, look, again, you have to respect that deep ball. You have to respect what Kamara is going to be able to do. He's a tough guy to tackle, but I know the Patriots are a really good tackling team. So we see him that he bounces off 1, 2, 3 defenders and such. I don't think you're going to have that this game, but they're going to have to be a little bit more creative on how they use them. I know throughout the course of training camp, towards the end, they had Mike Martz come in to kind of give him some advice on how to use him better, kind of what they did with Marshall Faulk and when they were with the Rams in the Greatest Show on Turf. So, I don't think we've seen that potential just because of everything. And of course, you and I both know seasons these first several games, this first stretch is going to be pretty much, and I think this is a Bill Belichick quote about that the season really starts after Thanksgiving. And so again, everything does matter, but a game this early, if the Saints lose, they fall to 1-2 or 2-1, it'd go to 2-1. The bottom line is they've done it 8 times under Sean Payton, made the playoffs 6 of those times. So I think their outlook is good, but you want to see one of the things that improve week over week is the biggest thing that I would say I look for. I actually picked against them when I did my game by game predictions, just so I know how tough it is in New England, and the Saints they haven't won this millennium in Foxborough. It's 3 games because they just don't see them a lot, but at the same time, they have the kind of the deck stacked against them.
Exactly. It's like the last time, it's like I can remember all the times they played them. It's like 2009, I was in high school. 2013, I was in college. And now 2017, 2021, and that's what it is. So it's like a 4-year thing. Maybe we'll see you guys again in 2 years now with the 17th game added in. And what I keep referencing to, I think 18's coming eventually. But no, you're right. I just feel like too, this game for either team, look, both are 1-1, but I think I'm going to go New England as well. Obviously, fan of them, but also too, I feel like New England needs to win a little bit more. I'm not trying to make take any shots at the Saints or anything. I'm just saying because you guys have the Giants next week, and then we have a guy that wears number 12 who we used to love for years and years, who I still love, coming in next week on Sunday Night Football. So from that perspective, I feel like 1-3 is not ideal, but I still think, look, at the end of the day, I don't see this being like last Sunday's game for either team, where you guys lost by 19, we won by both 19 score differences, but I just don't see that for either side. I see a close game that, look, like I said before, it's going to come down to the little things, and that's what I hope I can get, because at the end of the day, those games where you have to sweat it out, I feel like you truly appreciate more than just a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, a final possession type the situation is very evident. It's something that could potentially happen here. And, look, I hate to be the Giants next week, because no matter how this game goes, fans have missed their team in the Superdome, and you miss 70,000 plus that are screaming at the top of their lungs to make it a challenge for the opposing team. Doesn't matter who it is, and what era. That's plays a factor into it. But look, again, if it was an NFC South game, it'd be a lot more implications to it. Or NFC is obviously out of conference and stuff, so it still matters. And again, in the grand scheme of things, but like you said, at the same breath, hopefully the Patriots aren't looking ahead, which I know it's Bill Belichick. No. They're not looking ahead. Fans might be, but there's no way Bill's like Tom coming next week. Let's figure this out. No, they're still working on prepping on this week and trying to build on what they have in this early season. And again, Mac Jones is a huge part of that. There's still a lot for both of these teams to unlock and untap that into that potential that they have.
Exactly. And also too, next Sunday, going into the brand new name, Caesar Dome, I believe some new field level boxes too coming into the Superdome, which should be exciting. But it's like we said, both teams will focus on here right now. One team's focused on New England, one team's focused on New Orleans. It's it's kind of funny. It's a new matchup of new teams and like new quarterbacks in a way, because this matchup for years was always about Tom and Drew. Now it's not that case anymore. But it's like we said, it's just a matter of, look, who can play better Sunday, and it's a matchup of two. Hey, looking not to be like, hey, how the seasons are going to play out, but it's kind of like, I think it's a good litmus test for both teams in that sense.
Yeah, look, and the thing is, I look further down the schedule too. I think Tennessee is going to be a huge one for the Saints when they come and play them. And, you know, they got Dallas down the road. They got Buffalo, you know, on Thanksgiving and such. So, I mean, there's a lot of these games on the calendar that you're going to circle and just kind of look at it and look ahead and say, man, this could be a really defining type game for a lot of these teams. And, you know, look, I think for whichever team comes out victorious, I mean, again, week 3, you're still getting a feel for a lot of things. I know the Saints were one preseason game because they didn't have their preseason finale against the Cardinals, and I don't know if it would have mattered much, but you know, again, it's those types of things where you look at, you know, the first couple of weeks, you're still getting a lot of things. I mean, these penalties are hard to figure out. These roughing the passer calls, these taunting penalties. I mean, you just really can't do much of anything, right? And so, you know, again, it's kind of sounds like fundamental football 101. You know, control the clock, see who can win better in the trenches, don't commit any turnovers, and then just try to be able to put yourself in a position where it's, you know, maybe on your defense in the last gasp and you feel good about that, or conversely, maybe it's on your offense and you feel good about needing some points at the end.
Exactly. And that's just something I can't wait for this coming Sunday. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us here. John, if anyone out there, Saints fan or not, wants to find your work, find your Twitter, find your writing, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you go on Twitter, it's at John J. Hendrix. That's Hendrix just like Jimmy, for those who catch the reference. I will give you a spoiler and disclaimer that if you follow me on game day, I'll probably ruin your broadcast because everybody says I'm ahead of time. It's because of the TV delays and all that people, I guess, don't realize it if they stream or whatever. But I will ruin your game, so don't follow me unless you really want to spoil and know what happens. But follow me on Sports Illustrated, Saints News, or saints.media, si.com/NFL/Saints.
All right, sounds good. Well, anyway, guys, give John a follow if you guys find his work, like I said, or if you're a Saints fan. But anyway, John, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to join me here on YWC Football Talk. And I'll extend a firm and hearty good luck to you guys on Sunday, and hope you do the same.
Absolutely, of course. Patriots fans are good people, so we're in good people. If you're not Atlanta, I mean, y'all, you got to remember, Patriots, they did us a solid, right? Tom Brady, Atlanta, Super Bowl 28-3, so they'll hold a special place in Saints fans' hearts for sure.
I think about that game at least once a day. No, I'm not going to lie. Well, anyway.
Go to Saints fans.
Oh, I can only imagine. Well, anyway, have a good one, John. And like I said before, good luck on Sunday, and we'll see how this game goes.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
And thank you once again to John Hendrix for coming on and giving me some time to talk Patriots Saints. With all his Twitter info, like he said in the video, like I said in the video portion of the podcast, will be up and will be in the description for this episode. Moving on to the next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Upset alert of the week, take the Bengals to win.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, the Steelers, they're very interesting. And I remember listening to you and Big Rat's show, and he was pretty much saying the barometer for the Steelers is what happens with the Raiders. And they lost to the Raiders. So, I mean, it could be a fortune of things to come. I mean, we all know Big Ben. He's kind of on his way out. I'm wondering if T. Higgins is going to play in this game for the Bengals. That could be a big thing to look out for. But, I mean, I would like to see the Bengals get on more of a roll and get to see what they got with this offense. I need to actually sit down and watch a Bengals game. I don't think I have in a little while. So I'm definitely, like, my knowledge of this isn't very high at the moment. But I could definitely see the Bengals pulling off the upset on the Steelers, and maybe they could knock the Steelers down into contentions in the AFC North. I mean, it could be a sign of the times for the Steelers.
No, I'm just like I'm going with the upset for. I just think, look, if Ben doesn't play as Run DMC is playing halftime, that's interesting. But Ian Rappaport actually tweeted half an hour ago, and I just saw it come up on the screen, so I have to talk about it. This is interesting. The NFL is tinkering with its Super Wildcard Weekend format, I'm told. Likely to have it conclude on a Monday night. This means 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and 1 Monday with a broadcast partner to be determined. Fun change. Can I can I tell you something? I honestly really, really like this because I feel like if you go to Saturday where you just have the 4:30 and the 8:15 wildcard game and then have a full slate Sunday and have that like nice little cherry on top dessert Monday night playoff game, that's a lot of fun. It just plays into a disadvantage, I think, for the team, when they have that Monday game going into the next week. So, that team would automatically have to play Sunday because there's no way they would play them 5 days apart.
Yeah, and it makes a lot more sense when college football isn't really in season too. So I like that change.
Yeah, because I'm just like thinking about it right now too, because I'm pretty sure with the 17th game, the week of week 17, that Monday I believe is the national championship. So then there's no college football that Monday. So you know what? You have no competition. Obviously, no Monday Night Raw doesn't count. This is more of a AEW stand podcast now. I said it.
Agreed.
As I'm wearing my Kenny Omega shirt right now, actually.
Phenomenal match, by the way.
Oh, yes. If you have not seen Dynamite Grand Slam, I highly recommend going to check it out. But back to this game, it's like I said, because last week I thought that the Steelers were going to win, but I thought that the Raiders would cover. But the Raiders, we'll get into them in a minute. Like, that was a game. It's just, for me, if you come and ask me, do you prefer Joe Burrow or do you prefer, like, Dwayne Haskins or Mason Rudolph? I'm going to take Joe Burrow. Like, even – here's the other thing, too. Like, I know the Bengals, they were a team I was concerned about going into the year. They have looked pretty okay through their first 2 games so far. Like, they beat the Vikings. They lost a close one to the Bears, but still, Burrow has not looked all that bad. And then you have, Jamar Chase has looked really good, and that was a concern going into the year as well. Mm-hmm. And they've been holding up fine. Like, I think the Bengals are kind of that team where you don't have to make the playoffs, but you just have to show, hey, we're making strides towards the future so that maybe next year or the year after is when you can start, putting yourself in that contenders driver's seat. Not contenders, but even like the playoff driver's seat where kind of like, how do I say this? Look what a team like the Raiders are doing. Like, they finally are clicking and they've looked good through 2 games so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably more concern them. I wouldn't quite say the level of the Panthers maybe quite yet, but maybe the Panthers of last season.
Yes, exactly. The Panthers of last season, I like that a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Browns have really come on strong, and, I mean, it's kind of been a 3-team race in that division, and right now you might see the Bengals try to take the seat from the Steelers and try to get up in that ranking in that division. And it's definitely possible because the Steelers are definitely going to be trending down unless they figure out something with what they're going to do at quarterback in the post-Big Ben era. I mean, they have the weapons to supplement that because, I mean, Najee Harris, I mean, he looks good. Their offensive line needs help for sure, so that's something else I would definitely need to look at. Their wide receiver room's really good. It's just a matter of fact of who all are they going to retain. I really like Deontay Johnson. Even though he has a bad history with drops, if he could ever get that figured out, he would be looking really, really good. Chase Claypool, a lot of people like him. I'm pretty sure Juju's going to be moving on after this year too, though. So you just got to see what they're going to do. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Steelers are going to do because that office probably thinks that they could be a contending team going on, just depending on whatever they do. So it'll be very interesting.
It will be, but at the end of the day, like I said, I'm going with the upset here. I'm going to go Bengals. I'm going to go 24-20. They win. Like, it's a close game, but at the end of the day, I feel like the Bengals do just enough to get the dub. Because even if you got to remember last year too, Monday Night Football, it was a game I didn't think much of, and the Bengals just surprised the Steelers.
Yeah, that is true. I'm actually going to go with the Steelers to win this one in a pretty close one. I'm going to say 24-14.
I can get down with that. Colts and Titans, in which a game I say is a must win for the Indianapolis Colts after going down 0-2, and then the Titans looking a little suspect through 2 weeks, I would say. They obviously had the nice comeback win last week. Derrick Henry, huge fantasy performance. And then you also have the Colts who just, they've looked okay, but they haven't looked too okay. But even though I say must win for the Colts, I think I got to go with the Tennessee Titans here. I just can't see. I think the Titans are a better football team right now, and it's just for the Colts, it's kind of like everything that could go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going to be playing. It could be Jacob Eason getting the start this week for the Colts. And Jonathan Taylor's not looked very promising. That's been a trend with these two running backs that were so huge in the fantasy community last season with Clyde and Jonathan Taylor. Clyde looking, I mean, he doesn't have a single excuse because, I mean, everyone was so excited about him being on the Chiefs and everything. But this isn't really about the Chiefs. It's about the Colts. And, of course, this is the Michael Pittman Stan podcast, myself included. He's been looking really good so far, but I hope he can continue it no matter who the quarterback is lining up on a day-to-day basis. But, I mean, you saw last week the Titans just unload Derrick Henry after the Seahawks kind of got up on them. And normally you see teams go away from the running game, but, I mean, when you have Derrick Henry, that's who you got to go to. And you would like to see that maybe the Titans kind of incorporate an all-out passing attack, just going in with A.J. Brown and Julio. I feel like A.J. Brown hasn't done a whole lot so far, so I'm sure you'll see him gearing up at some point of this season. But with all the injuries and stuff, I got to take the Titans to win this one. I'm with you on that one. It could be a little bit closer than you think. I don't really know what kind of prediction I'd give it because I'm honestly terrible at predicting scores. So I'm just going to throw out and say like 27 Titans, 19 Colts, some random number like that.
You know what? A little scoregami never hurt anyone. For this one, I'm going to go close again. I'm going to say 24-23 Titans win.
Ooh, real close.
A little spice on the scoregami there. Moving on next. Also, too, I gotta say, I love wearing this mic, because I'm not using my usual mic today, guys. So that's why this audio sounds a little off. I'm using my gamer headset, but Matt said it works fine, so I'm sticking with it. The Washington football team at the Buffalo Bills. I'm gonna say this right now. The spread's at 7.5. I'm gonna go Bills win, football team cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be more of a sample size for Taylor Heineke. You're definitely good. I'm sure the front office really wants to see if this guy could possibly be a guy for their future. I mean, he obviously had that electric performance against the Bucs in the playoffs last season. Definitely going to be one to look out for. Josh Allen really hasn't gotten it rolling quite yet. And of course, the Washington defense is really nice. They haven't been so far as good as they were last season. I'm pretty sure their coverage has been a little bit off so far, but their D-line is still really good. Whenever you have Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen on a defensive line like that, you're always going to be looking good. But if anyone's going to find the weakness in that, it could be Josh Allen. I mean, he looked so good last season, and we've kind of been waiting to see him continue to look like that. So this might be the game, honestly. It could be a pretty fun game if Taylor Heineke electric shows up. So I guess I'm gonna take the Bills with you, and I'm gonna say the Bills 31, Washington football team 24.
You know what? I like it, and that covers the spread. My thing too, I just think the Washington front four hasn't been as menacing as a lot of people thought. I thought a lot of people thought, this is going to be a defensive line that's going to FSU. But for those of you who don't want to know language coming up, the fuck shit up kind of thing, where they just come in and they like wreak havoc on the entire thing. As I realized, Aaron Andrews' dress shirt has an NFL logo on it, so doing free advertising there. I don't get it. But my whole thing with this game is, look, I think if Washington loses, it's not an end of the world situation. I think this could be, like you're right, this could be the game that Josh Allen finally has it, not a breakout moment, but finally has that, you remember who I am. Like, all those years with Tom Brady where it was like, oh, hey, is Tom doing this, Tom this? And then he just basically comes out and just balls out, and everyone goes, oh, yeah, there's a Tom Brady we know and love. So, yeah, I can see a world where Josh Allen comes out and has a game like that. Because even, too, him and Diggs haven't been like that crazy connection they were last year. So I feel like not only is Bills Mafia looking for that, but I feel like the NFL as a general, because there's a lot of people I know who are getting really pissed off at Josh Allen through 2 weeks because we talked about it off air. That's the joys and pain of fantasy football, where you just get pissed off at players if they're not exceeding expectations. But as it goes to this game, I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to circle the wagons as much as I hate to say that. But give me a score line of 28 to 20. I'm going to go score count. I'm going to go 28 to 23. Bills win. I feel like the Bills defense does enough to where they hold Washington to field goals, but then the Bills offense goes out there and gets the job done.
Yeah, I feel you. And the whole Josh Allen hyping thing is just me trying to hype up my dynasty quarterback. So
completely understand. Sorry I cut you off there. Next up on the docket, we got the Chargers at the Chiefs. Same thing, it is a 7-point spread. Give me the exact same result. Chiefs win, Chargers cover, because the Chiefs so far 0-2 against the spread. They were 7-9 last year, the same spread record as the 1-15 Jacksonville Jaguars.
That is crazy to think about. I mean, like I had alluded to in an earlier podcast, I'm kind of high on Gardner Minshew, and he kind of kept the Jags a little bit competitive in games just by him being a good quarterback and making use of what weapons he has. And I mean, the Chiefs, they sometimes kind of play down to their competition a little bit occasionally. And I mean, the Chargers, this could be a good matchup for the years. I mean, if everyone wants to crown Justin Herbert as this really good quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes, people like to crown him as the GOAT already. This could be a matchup for the years that we're going to see multiple years in a row, and it's going to be something to watch out for on a year-to-year basis, and just see which team does better against which one. They're both 1-1, so they're both kind of looking to get back up in the standings with the Raiders top the division, which is crazy to think about right now. But I mean, it's week 3 in the NFL, so anything's possible. I guess I'm gonna have the Chiefs winning this one. It's probably gonna be hard to see Patrick Mahomes losing 2 games in a row after having the close loss to Baltimore last week. You'd like to see the Texans bounce back and get a win here. Or I say the Texans, but the Chiefs, I'm sorry.
Hey, we're watching the Texans play the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. It's all good. I'm going to go with the same thing. I feel like if you remember last year's game where, unfortunately, same thing happened with Tyrod Taylor. It's just he has this bad luck still of, like, getting hurt and everything where, okay, look, and also I'm going to say this too. They don't call pass interference right there. I'm really glad, because that first pass interference back in the first quarter was completely a horrendous missed call on DJ Moore. So if they're not calling that on JC Horn, like tit for tat, the whole makeup call bullshit that the refs love to do in every league. The next thing I was going to say about this game is, look, do you remember the game last year where Tyrod Taylor had that unfortunate rib injury and then Herbert came in and then they went to overtime and the Chiefs won OT?
Yes, I think I recall it.
I can see a very similar game here where, you know what? Or even like, you're going to hate me for doing this. Do you remember the Monday Night Football Saints-Chargers game last year where, like, Saints, where it was a very nail-biter, but then the Saints did just a little bit more to get the dub?
Yes, and the Chargers definitely had a history of that last season. It was really bad for them. Like, they would always have these such close games. Like, imagine being a Chargers fan around that time last season. And that's why a lot of people really like the Chargers. But, I mean, they just always seem to kind of blow it towards the end somehow in these games. And a lot of people kind of pointed the finger at Anthony Lynn, but you just kind of want to see them turn it around at some point. If they start to do it this year, who knows?
Oh my God, what the hell is Alex Kemp's staff doing here? Yeah, that was a common theme last year. Like they almost beat the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, and the Saints all within like a 4-week period. Okay, you're seriously calling that passable? What call are you calling there?
That's the Brandon Cook superstar call.
God, like Matt Rule is pissed right now.
He really is.
Yeah, and it's not Brian Burns. It's Burris. I'm just trying to figure out what the call is there because I have the game on mute while I'm podcasting. But yeah, back to this game though. I'm gonna go 30-28 Chargers, where like I know 30-28 Chargers, 30-28 Chiefs. Because the other thing too that I was saying through the first 2 games with this Chiefs team, their defense hasn't looked as dominant as it has over the last 2 years. Like if you think about it, I said this to Danny on Monday, and he didn't think much of it. But if you think about it, they allowed Baltimore to score 36, and they allowed the Cleveland Browns to score 29. That is 65 points through the first 2 games of the year. Now I understand, look, they're both shootouts, but if you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender team, I feel like your defense cannot allow 2 back-to-back games like that. You have to have some, dominance in there. And I feel like there's a game where they could go ahead and shut me out, but at the same time, too, I think a lot of people take the Chiefs as like this whole, hey, they're the Chiefs, they're good, they're going to kill it every week, but in reality, they haven't done that so far. So I still think I'm still waiting for that game for the Chiefs, but I just don't think it's this week. I think they get the win, but I feel like it's one of those, how they say there's no moral victories in the NFL? I still feel like this is a moral victory for the LA Chargers.
Yeah, for sure. I can agree with that. I think the main thing with the Chiefs is the fact that their offense is so high powered that all these other teams think that they just have to get points on the board no matter what. So I think it comes down to that, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to score more than the Chiefs. And I was listening to the PFF podcast, and they're talking about the number 30 being the magic number, where you just want to get to the number 30 first to try to beat this team, because their offense is just so dynamic. And another thing they're talking about, which is very interesting to me, is the fact that Travis Kelce and Gronk are so close in age. And people always talk about Gronk being washed up. And right now, Gronk's having a good start to the season. Will it continue? I don't know. He could end up injured, but you never know how that could happen. But, it leads you to believe, how long can Travis Kelce keep this trend up? And, I was really high going into Travis Kelce this year, and he's so far proven that to be right. But it's just a simple thing to wonder. It got me really thinking, like, how long can Travis Kelce keep up this elite streak of being so good? And it's just another thing to worry about with the Chiefs, because how long are Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce going to keep this up? Because, they spent that first round draft capital on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you would have hoped, their front office probably would have hoped that he would have established himself as a superstar. And so far, that hasn't been the case. And, if you're in an offense as dynamic as this, look at what Kareem Hunt did when he first came there, even back in those years. The offense was still really nice, and he really cemented himself. But as far as this game goes, yeah, I pretty much agree. I see the Chiefs winning, and I hope it's a close game. It'd be very entertaining to watch. But I'm probably going to be watching Red Zone, and hopefully it pops up on Red Zone a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. Carolina almost got an interception. That's the thing I was going to say, too. I feel like this is going to be the game Red Zone goes to quite a bit. I feel like the Falcons, Giants, and Patriots, actually, like the 1 o'clock Red Zone forgot about us games. Next one, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. 7.5 point spread. Arizona going to Jacksonville. Some of the stuff Urban Meyer has been saying, like, I said this, that the Cons run a better wrestling promotion than a football team, even though football is like the main priority for them. But I think that's JC Horn that's hurt. The thing I'm going to say is the fact that, like, you have him saying that, like, oh yeah, like comparing the Denver Broncos to Alabama, like there's some moments where Urban's got a guy that goes like, just shut the fuck up, shut up, just keep your mouth shut. As for this game goes, man, if the Denver Broncos can go into Jacksonville and whoop the Jacksonville Jaguars, what's stopping the Arizona Cardinals? Like, I know last year Russell Murray was at, like, out of the gate MVP candidate. This year for me, it's Kyler Murray. I know I picked Matt Stafford at the beginning of the year, but man, if he continues on this pace, I don't think there's any excuse why Kyler Murray's not in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, Kyler Murray, he's a special talent. Seeing him out here and seeing some of the stuff he does, I think there was a play where he was juking out some pass rushers, and he looked back at the pass rushers trying to survey, like, hey, this guy's coming on my back, let me roll out. And then DeAndre Hopkins was looking at him at the same time, and he rolled out to where he was facing Kyler Murray perfectly for a touchdown pass. And it was really cool to see how those two are just on the same page as that. And it can happen like that when you have these two great talents, and they have so many different, like, weapons on offense that they can go to. And outside of DeAndre Hopkins, they're not really like elite level talents, because their running back room isn't the best. Their other wide receivers just aren't amazing. Rondale Moore is looking pretty good so far, which is interesting to see. But they just have so many different weapons that they can go to. Like, if you compare it to like the Saints right now, who have a very low pool of weapons, which is nothing I could have gotten into with them, but that's neither here nor there. But the Cardinals, they look pretty impressive so far. I will give it to them. They've been looking really nice. As far as the Jaguars go, it's just, man, when these quarterbacks get drafted so highly, it's very rare that you see them go to a really good team. And it's just like they're not able to really go out there and perform well sometimes, and sometimes it could just take some adjustment. And that's why I'm so hyped on Mac Jones so far this year, because he's been in a position to succeed, and it's been working so far for him. And you always hear the controversy with Urban Meyer, with all of his coachings, and you just wonder how long he's going to stick around if this ship is going to be falling. It could be turned to another Nick Saban situation where he just jets out and another one of the great college coaches just kind of gives up on it. It just happens that way sometimes. It could be an interesting game to watch, but I think the Cardinals are just going to blow the doors off the Jags. It's not even going to be close. It's going to be pretty bad for the Jags. I think it's going to be something like Jacksonville, maybe 17. Arizona is probably going to put up over 30 points for sure. I think it's going to be bad.
Give me 37 Arizona, 10 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's all I'm saying.
Man. While J.C. Horn's like limping off, I wonder what that injury is. That's bad for him.
Looks like his ankle.
Christian McCaffrey and J.C. Horn in the same night. That's bad.
Oh, man. Davis Mills does not look that bad tonight. I'll say that right now.
Yeah, I mean, third-round quarterback. I've heard some people were hyped on him. They thought he would be pretty decent. And, I mean, the Texans, I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum. I mean, this team does not look very good at all on paper. It could be one of the worst teams in the league. And the fact that he's going out here and putting on a decent performance, you got to give it props to him. I mean, it's a tough ask with this defense, the Panthers, the way it looks so far, the way this season has gone for them.
You're also at the 39-yard line and punting. Kick the field goal here if you're the Texans. Because I know earlier we talked about, I think they're just doing a play to see if the Panthers jumped. So not a horrible decision there by Devin Colley. I'll give him credit for that. But no, look back to the game. Cardinals by a lot. Chicago at Cleveland, where actually Justin Fields would make his first ever NFL start. I'm going to say the same thing I said before. Spread is at 7 points. It would not shock me to see the Bears lose but cover this game. Because, and also, too, I have to recognize this. Today is the 20th anniversary of Drew Bledsoe getting lit up by Mo Lewis that led to Tom Brady coming into the game for him. And then the rest is history. So just a little nugget tidbit there, which was a very emotional day in New England with that was the first Sunday back after 9/11, and Joe Andruzzi coming on the field with 2 American flags and all his brothers and his dad there who are firefighters in New York. So just a little thing there because as Justin Fields made his first start, and like I said too, look, he took advantage because Mo Lewis nearly killed Drew Bledsoe. I feel like Justin Fields is here to take advantage of the opportunity. But at the same time, too, Cleveland's just a better football team, so give me the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that is true. Cleveland is a better football team. I'm going to be a crazy man and predict the upset. Justin Fields is going to go out there, look amazing, and then Matt Nagy is going to say, you're still not the starter because we don't want to throw you out there yet. I don't know what it is with some of these coaches sometimes. I can understand protecting your rookie quarterback, but we know Andy Dalton's not going to be the answer. And a lot of times it comes to a point, you see Tyrod Taylor. I feel bad for the guy whenever he comes in, he just gets replaced by these quarterbacks. And it just sucks to see for him, but it could be a situation where they force Matt Nagy's hand and Justin Fields plays well. I'm going to take the Bears 21, Browns 17. Call me a crazy person, but it is what it is. I mean, the Browns' defensive line is really nice, and it could cause Justin Fields some problems, but I think he has the mobility to get around it. I would like to see a deep shot to Darnell Mooney in this game. I think that'd be pretty fun to see because we know Justin Fields has that playmaking ability. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna call the crazy upset here and see Justin Fields get his first win in the NFL with his first start.
Yeah, that's like, because that's the thing though. Like, you have to call upsets, but at the same time too, for me, like, I want to see Fields do well. I'm just thinking, like, against the Browns, I don't know if that's ideal. And then at the same time too, I don't know where I see this game going. Like, I'm gonna go 21-17 Browns win. But like, when I say that, like, I'm not overly confident in it with my prediction. But at the same time too, that's why we're here, because we're here to talk football. We're here to predict shit. But I don't get the whole Andy Dalton thing, to be honest. I feel like it's the whole, like, promising your toddler something, and you have to, like, go on your word. It's like, oh, we're doing this, why? Oh, like, or you know when, like, your girl ropes you into something you don't want to do, and you're like, oh, I got to do this, and they're like, oh, I promised her. Like, no, football, it is the next best thing. Because if Justin Fields comes in here and looks fantastic, like, if he looks like his Ohio State self, you cannot put him on the bench. You're basically Tua-ing him to where next year, if he is the starter, people are going to be like, oh, is Justin the guy for the job? Is Justin this? Is Justin that? Which you do not want that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and Tommy were talking about it when you guys were talking about the Bears. They're probably hoping to just keep Andy Dalton playing for most of the season and have Justin Fields come in towards the end, and they can be like, hey, look, Justin Fields is good. We're not going to end up so that way they can try and save their job at least. I think that's what y'all talked about on there, if I'm not mistaken. But that definitely could be the scenario there. But now that Justin Fields is kind of forcing their hands and having him to go out there and play, because I definitely don't see the thing with Andy Dalton either. He didn't play really great with the Cowboys either last season. I mean, the Cowboys offense, I mean, look at it. Look at what you got there. And if you can't perform with that, I don't know. I mean, he's a decent game manager. He did good stuff for the Bengals, but I think his time's kind of up where he could just be a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. I mean, if you have him as a backup, that's a fine backup to have at the end of the day. But I think asking him to be a starter is kind of too much. But for whatever reason, they want to delay Justin Fields, and I can understand wanting to ease in your rookie. Sometimes that works out good, and sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to go for it. I mean, look at what the Patriots did with Mac Jones. And granted, it's a different situation. We're talking about the Patriots and the Bears. It's two different organizations here. Sometimes you just got to work it out for your rookie and show that you have confidence in them.
No, you're right. But I'm just looking at it from that angle where it's like, look, you don't want to stunt his development or his growth. Tommy, I did talk about that a lot because, look, we know, resident Bear fan, Tommy Stout, he'll be back on at some point. But it's just when you look at the whole Bear dynamic of it, you got to look at the future. Don't think about the now. Think about 5-10 years from now. And look, if you get Justin Fields to start now, it's only going to pay off in the long run. But, Jesus. Oh, wait. Ooh, Sam making a run. Moving on now to the 4 o'clock games. Jets at Broncos. Easy question. Jets, do Broncos cover 10.5?
Probably so. I'm very happy for my guy Teddy Bridgewater. The Broncos have been looking really good, and Teddy's been looking good with them. And they've even lost Jerry Jeudy to the high ankle sprain, which, with my experiences with the high ankle sprain with Michael Thomas, I don't know how much effective Jerry Jeudy's going to have on this season. But I mean, Cortland Sutton's been looking good. Noah Fant's been pretty decent. You got to wonder when they're going to get Javonte Williams, the main guy involved, to be the main guy there. He's been getting some work, but I don't know when they're going to completely convert to him. I mean, Melvin Gordon could still be useful in the passing game. But I'm happy for my guy Teddy. And the Broncos, they definitely have a squad there. They definitely have the talent. And as we saw last season, Drew Lock just wasn't it, and I'm thinking that's going to end up the same thing with Daniel Jones at some point. I do draw parallels to them, but that's kind of going off the rails anyways. But yeah, the Jets, I'm sorry, Danny. I don't know what's going on with them, man. He'd probably be able to crack that down a little bit more. I mean, you just had him on, and he was at the game. He said he didn't want to be on here after he was drunk. It's just kind of...
He's so drunk Sunday.
Yeah, it's just kind of hoping that the Jets can show you something to go off of. Maybe Michael Carter starts having some games here and there. Maybe Elijah Moore starts showing through. Maybe Zach Wilson starts to look a little bit better. You got to get the offensive line looking better. Bradley Chubb's going to give them some time. Von Miller. It's going to be a bad day for the Jets. Oh, Chubb's hurt. I'm sorry.
Chubb, he's been very injury prone ever since he's come to the NFL. He was supposed to be this top 10 pick, just absolute wrecker, and he can't stay healthy. But no, yeah, this game, you got to go Broncos, like the mile high factor, the fact they've looked good against the Broncos, the Jags and the Giants. My thing with Denver right now is I want to see them do this against a good team. Like if you go look at their October schedule, they got some pretty tough opponents coming up. Like they have the Ravens and the Steelers, as my fellow Canadian Chuba Hubbard with a nice run. So yeah, basically you just got to like look at I'm looking at the Broncos long term where can they keep this up, or are they going to be that, like, you know how the Raiders have been for years where, like, they'll get off this hot start, but then they'll just, like, cool down all of a sudden and go on, like, a 5-game losing streak? I'm curious to see if the Denver Broncos are that team. But for this game, look, you got to go Broncos. I'm going to take the 10.5. I'm taking the points. I'm going to say, what's a fun score to say? I'm going to say 31-14 Broncos win.
I'll just piggyback off that score because I just don't know. It just depends on how many mistakes Zach Wilson makes. For Danny's sake, I hope the Jets go out there and look better because at this point you just want to see progress.
Exactly. You just want to see progress. And then I don't think there's much more to add to that game. Moving on next, Dolphins at Raiders. This was a classic last year. Day after Christmas, it was that night game. It was that Ryan Fitzpatrick getting his, like, head ripped off as he was making the throw. But this game right here, I think this game is going to speak volumes for both teams because, look, the Raiders, unlike the Broncos, you beat the Ravens and the Steelers. The Ravens game, which I feel like they had no business winning, and then you have the game against the Steelers where it's just like, look, anything can happen. But as it pertains to this game, you just have a matter of, look, I think this is a game where it's going to speak volumes for how either team goes. I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win this game. I feel like this is a perfect bounce back for them after losing that game to Buffalo, unfortunately, after I was so high on them going into the game. When Big Rat was at that game actually last Sunday. I haven't talked to him much since. But as for the score of this game, I think it's a very, very close game, very similar to last year. I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 35-31 Dolphins win.
I feel like it's going to be kind of low scoring. I know Tua is out this week, and they're going to be going off of Jacoby Brissett. So I don't know how confident I am in Jacoby Brissett going out there and helping them beat the Raiders. I know it's not like a tough, huge ask, but I mean, I think this game's going to be pretty important in the grand scheme of the AFC wildcard picture because this could be a huge tiebreaker or a huge game for these two clubs because they're definitely two teams that could be looking at that wildcard position with the way their seasons are going so far. The Raiders definitely impressing so far. And Derek Carr's been looking good, man. I mean, I gotta give him props. I was kind of worried about the Raiders going into the year with all the offensive line changes, but they've shown through. I mean, I like the Raiders on this one. I don't really know. I think it's going to be kind of a lower scoring game than what you had it. I'd probably put it something like maybe 21-17 or something like that. But yeah, I got the Raiders in this one. And the D-line's been looking pretty good too.
If I change my score, also too, I'm going to say this two players on the Raiders that really impressed me is Max Crosby and Carl Nassib have looked really good so far. I'm going to change the score because I brain farted and forgot the Tua thing. I'm going to change my score to 23-17. I'm still going to go Miami. I feel like Jacoby Brissett's going to play better. I just feel like this is like the kind of game where, the Dolphins kind of like catch the Raiders off guard a little bit and like kind of do a couple of things here and there to kind of catch them off. But the other thing I'll say about the Raiders too is Derek Carr has looked really good for the first 2 weeks of the season. I feel like this is the best he's looked since 2016.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Derek Carr's been out there balling, and he's showing through. Not much else to say about it. I just got the Raiders in this one.
as a Tommy Tremble, the Notre Dame product, getting the touchdown for the Carolina Panthers, which Carolina, please make this field goal so the spread's covered again. Yeah, so I'm changing the score because I totally brain farted and forgot 2 O's out. My apologies, folks. Seahawks and Vikings, which I think is a very sneaky good game of the week, but my ultimate favorite game of the week is the next game we're going to talk about. This is the same situation as the Colts. This is a must-win for the Vikings. I'm going to go upset on this one, actually. Part of me thinks that the Seahawks can win, but I feel like at the same time, too, I feel like this is a chance for the Vikings to truly catch them off guard. I do think this one is a high-scoring game because you just can't trust both defenses. And I feel like this game is going to be, whichever offense makes less mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with you because it's definitely going to be high-scoring. I don't know if Dalvin Cook's going to be able to put the team on his back with his ankle sprain he has currently going on. It could be a lingering issue for him. So you can't really – What's that?
I still have something to say. Sorry to cut you off. I have something to say.
Oh, you're fine.
Go get Alexander Mattinson if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get further injured, but it could be something to look into for sure with Alexander Madison. As far as the Seahawks go, you'd like to see DK Metcalf get more involved. It's been the Tyler Lockett show. That man has been going off, as I was saying earlier. He's been like the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in fantasy so far. You got to see that dip at some point, and DK Metcalf's probably going to take some alpha targets away there. But as far as this game goes, the Vikings wide receivers have looked really good so far. They've able to have been spread out the ball. They really have no options at tight end. So KJ Osborne has been pretty decent so far for them as a third wide receiver. And, of course, you got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, who've been looking really good. So I think it's going to be a pretty explosive game on offense. At the end of the day, I'm going to take the better quarterback to win this because the Seahawks, they got to get this win if they're going to try to keep up with this division. And getting a win over an 0-2 team is going to be very important. Although, like you said, it's super important not to go 0-3 for the Vikings either because it's just going to be hard to get into the wild card spots in the NFC. But at the end of the day, I got to take the Seahawks. I got to take the better quarterback in Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Vikings just to kind of, throw the dog a bone. I think this is like the same thing like I said before with Miami. I think this is kind of the game where they not look exactly good, but at the same time, also I just realized I'm about to go with the same score as their game from last week. But the fact, too, that they're able to score points. If you guys don't remember, they got off to a hot start last week against the Cardinals. They only lost because of the field goal. But I think the fortune changed this time. I'm going to go with a score of Vikings 34-33. I doubt that score happens because it happened last week. If it does, I'm just a genius. But I honestly think this is one of those games, where I think the Vikings can come out and do well. Plus, it's their home opener, so you kind of gotta mix it up that way. The next game, which I said earlier, game of the week, I'm not going to come on here and coin it NFC Championship preview because I am not doing that in September, especially week 3. But the Rams versus the Buccaneers, 4:25 on Fox. I think this is a true proven ground game for both teams on both sides of the football.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, I know Darrell Henderson's kind of having a nagging injury a little bit to him right now. But, I mean, the Rams with the Cam Akers injury, they've been showing that they can still continue to run the ball. And that's been a problem for Sean McVay's Rams. If he's not able to run the ball, and this is a definite team that's hard to run the ball against, they have a hard time getting their offense going. But that's where you hope that's why they went and got Matthew Stafford if you're their front office, because you got Matthew Stafford to circumvent things whenever the running game just goes awry. Cooper Kupp's been looking good for them. Maybe Robert Woods get more involved here. I know the Buccaneers are going to be without Antonio Brown, but I mean they got nice weapons outside of him. So with Scotty Miller, so you'd like to. I think it's going to be a really good game, as you said. We know the Buccaneers, they don't really have the best running back tandem. Leonard Fournette, he's all right, and Ronald Jones, he just has never really been able to string it together. And I know I kind of had the Bucs getting maybe 3 or 4 losses, and I know their schedule is pretty favorable. So just to keep up with me giving them some losses, I'm going to give them a loss here. I think the Rams at home, and I think Matthew Stafford is going to do enough to circumvent the running game problems that is going to arise with that Tampa Bay defense because it's legit. But this might be where the whole legend of Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford starts with their offense. I got the Rams in a very close one. I almost said the Lions because I'm just used to Matt Stafford being on the Lions. It's still weird. Very close game, 31-27.
Also, look at the Bucs schedule. They only have so far on their season. They only have 7 of their 17 games are at 1 o'clock starts.
Oh yeah, I mean they're definitely the. I'm sorry, Griff. Do you hear that? Is that coming through on your end?
That's all good. It sounds like a vacuum. It's no big deal.
Okay, I have no idea where that's coming from. It's probably my neighbors.
It's all good. Shit happens. I'm just looking at their schedule right now, though. Like after this game, obviously week 4 is the big matchup. There'll be a lot coming content-wise for that one next week, folks. I don't want to give anything away yet, except for this next Thursday night to get ready for week 4 completely, including that game. Will be Phil Nightmare 10 and I. So the 2 of us will be here next week to get you completely set up for all the week 4 games, including Patriots, Buccaneers. But then after that, it's Dolphins, Eagles, Bears, Saints, and then their bye week. So even after the bye, football team, Giants, Colts, Falcons, Bills, like they're have a very easy schedule. So I feel like with the Buccaneers, these are certain games that you honestly expect them to win. These are the games where you're going to look at and go, if I'm a Bucs fan, you expect them to win this. Because if they don't win this game, everyone's going to kind of look at it as, hey, how are they going to be expected to win for, like, in January? I'm going different. I'm going to go with the Rams to win this one, but I think this is going to be an absolute nail-biter in Los Angeles. And also, weird fun fact of the day, too, Tom Brady's first ever NFL game in LA, which is kind of wild to think about. But if I had to put a score on this, give me 38-35 Rams.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fun one to watch. It's probably going to be the main game I'm watching after the Saints-Patriots game, of course.
Exactly. And my only thing about this game, look, I think this is just going to be more of a proving ground for Matthew Stafford more than anything because Matthew Stafford really hasn't faced Tom Brady much in his career. Obviously, both now are in the NFC, so we'll see where it goes. But I feel like if Matt Stafford comes out and balls, he can really make a case and solidify himself for being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
I definitely agree.
Yes, and I feel like with the Bucs there's not much to prove as this Carolina's going to get called back for holding. The next game on the docket, Sunday Night Football, Packers at Niners. I'm going to come out and say it. I think the Niners are going to win this game. I just think, look, the Packers last week got off to a bit of a rough start with Detroit. Even though they won big, they got their asses kicked by the Saints. I just feel like with the Packers in this game, too. Oh, other fun fact. Packers struggle mightily in California. And I just think, too, on the short week, I just can't see a world where the Packers win this football game. I think at the end of the day, San Francisco is going to be too much to handle. And once again, too, in San Francisco's home opener, there's a lot of teams who still haven't played home games. Denver, San Francisco, Minnesota.
The Saints, even though they played a home game in Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly. The Saints haven't played a home game. So, yeah, and then there's just – it's one of those things where it's just like, look, you have this home game for San Francisco, the first game in front of fans since the 2019 NFC Championship game featuring said Packers. But when it comes to this game, look, I just think this is going to be a game that's not going to be as exciting as a lot of people think it's going to be. Does that make sense? Like, I think this is I got to look up I think the spread's only 3 points, which I'm going San Francisco to win this game. But the overall points is 50. I'm going to go with the under for this. I'm going to say, I want to be different with my scores because I'm saying a lot of them the same. I'm going to say 28. I'm going to say 28-17. San Francisco wins.
My main problem is wondering if the 49ers are going to get their offense rolling through the running game with their depleted running back core. I know we had kind of talked about it more with Elijah Mitchell. It's definitely something to worry about with the 49ers. You wonder if Deebo Samuel's going to keep up his string of incredible games. He's another guy.
Play well?
Yeah, he's another guy that's been playing really well at wide receiver. Another guy that I have my eyes on because there's a lot of these wide receivers that have been popping off, and I'm trying to see which ones are going to stick around and keep up their normal things. Like DJ Moore, he's been really good too. I mean, tonight he has like at least 20 fantasy points, I think, in PPR formats, and I think he's going to continue that. Yeah, good catch there by Terrace Marshall. But I definitely think it's something DJ Moore is going to keep up with. But as far as the 49ers and Packers, I have such a bad thing of going on tangents of other players mid previewing another game. I have a bad habit of that. But as far as the Packers and 49ers games, I think that Packers game was just an anomaly against the Saints. Aaron Rodgers had a lot going on this offseason. They had their whole last dance controversy. And I think they just weren't very serious for that game. On top of the Saints, they just came in and they had a game plan and they stuck to it. Very two different ends of the spectrum shown from that team. But as far as this game, I'm going to take the Packers here to win. I just always kind of bet with Aaron Rodgers. And you did make a good point there. They don't really ever perform too well in California. It's a pretty good trip and travel for them, different environment. But at the end of the day, I got to take the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are going to keep rolling. And I know people were saying stuff like Aaron Rodgers kind of needs something to prove. At the end of the day, he probably needs to prove that, hey, look, this Packers team, they're going to need me. So I'm just going to take the Packers here. As far as a score prediction, I'm so bad with these score predictions. I'm going to say I could see it not being a very exciting game also, like you were saying. So I'm going to stick with 27-17. Packers.
No, you can't go wrong with it. It's a score you got to like. And then last but not least, we've got the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, that's another team actually who first home game of the year that is Dallas Cowboys. I think that's clear pass interference on Dan Arnold, former Saint, and Cardinal. But no, with this Dallas Cowboys team, they're opening at home against the Eagles. I want to go Dallas. I feel like, you said Green Bay, you thought week one was like an anomaly against the Saints. I feel like with the Eagles, I think their week one against the Falcons was an anomaly in the sense of, like I said before, the Falcons, they get the Dennis Green Award. They are who we thought they were award. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys, I feel like they're starting to show that, hey, they're enough, and that, hey, if their offense can do enough to where their defense doesn't have to have a big game to win them, against teams like the Eagles, I feel like that's where you can win. And that's why I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, with that being said, I think this is NFC East football. These are two teams, rivalry. I feel like it's going to be a close-scoring game, but at the same time, too, I feel like the Cowboys are going to do just enough to win, as DJ Moore did some trickery that backfires. I'm going to say for a total score line, I'm going to say 21-16 Cowboys win. I think this is going to be a lot of field goals for the Philadelphia Eagles Monday night. I feel like it's going to be one of those Monday nighters that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to say, why am I watching this? But at the same time, too, it's like, hey, why am I watching the Panthers play the Texans right now? Because I love football.
That's very true, and very good points with the whole division rivalry. These NFC East division rivalries, they always seem to be put in primetime games. It's a very popular thing, and I mean, I know people like to say the Cowboys are America's team. Giants are in a big market in New York, so these teams always seem to get the national spotlight. But as far as this game goes, I'm curious to see what Jalen Hurts is going to look like. I like watching in on him. I want to see what it's going to end up looking like, because I'm not very high on him, but I'm not going to wish ill will on him. I just want to see if he can continue to string it along. And I mean, like, the Cowboys have been pretty good so far, I will say. They had the impressive showing against the Buccaneers, where if they just hadn't missed a couple kicks, maybe they could have won that game. And they ended up getting the kick against the Chargers and getting the win. So that was definitely big for Cowboys fans. I know they're excited about that. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I got the Cowboys winning this one. It's probably going to be close just because of the rivalry, like you said, but I like the Cowboys here. They're a fun team to watch. They put points on the board. I'm going to give the Cowboys quite a few points here. I'm going to say they score in the 30s. Let's say 37 Cowboys, and the Eagles will probably be about 27 or 24.
Yeah, I can see a world of both happen, like where the under hits or where the over hits. This game can go either way. I just see a very similar game to what the Cowboys did against the Chargers last week, where it's low scoring and that they win on a field goal, or like even I said you too, where the Dallas defense actually has a good game, does enough to help them win. Because that's the one thing too. The Dan Quinn defense and the Mike Nolan defense is day and night.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, another big thing to be watching out is if Amari Cooper is going to be playing in this game. I'm definitely going to be checking that out myself, because I had a little bit of stock in Amari Cooper going into this season. And if he doesn't play, it could be the CeeDee Lamb show. Because I mean, I know their wide receiver core is a little hurt right now, and without Amari Cooper would be a pretty big blow. And Zeke hasn't really gotten off to the hot start, but I think they'd have to rely on Zeke and CeeDee Lamb quite a bit if Amari Cooper's out. But hopefully Amari Cooper plays for them. If Amari Cooper doesn't play, I'll probably put the points down a little bit, but I'd probably still have the Cowboys winning at the end of the day. But I like the Cowboys here for sure.
You know, I think we both like the Cowboys, and I think with that, folks, that's going to wrap it up for the Week 3 preview show of YWC Football Talk. Is there anything else you want to add on to the program today, Matt?
I'm hoping to see a better performance from my Saints. Maybe we see something in the middle, and hopefully this fiber optic cable doesn't get cut this time, and I can actually watch football.
Let's hope not. And all I hope for Sunday is that we just get a good game between both teams with someone getting a dub, but that's just the nature of the beast with football. But anyway, guys, I want to thank Matt for coming on. It's always great talk with Matt. And then also, too, another thanks to John Hendrix from Sports Illustrated coming on once again just to talk about the game Sunday. And Matt and I discussed all the action for Sunday. But anyway, guys, enjoy Week 3 of the NFL season, as this has been episode 112 of YWC Football Talk. See you for Tom Brady Week starting Monday night. Good night, everybody.